Families in Virginia are outraged after a nurse charged with abusing premature babies has been given a bond of $25,000 that she posted. Erin Strotman, this is the defendant right here, is accused of breaking the bones of NICU babies that she was caring for. This lady is suspected of harming at least 7 infants between 2023 and 2024. She was even caught on camera. But a judge gave her bond after a mental health evaluation. How does that work out? WTVR's Elizabeth Holmes has more.
25-year-old Erin Strotman is facing charges for malicious wounding and child abuse. She was granted a $25,000 bond, but she must meet several criteria.
Some of which include wearing a GPS monitor and staying at her parents' house. A judge also said she cannot provide medical services as a healthcare professional or be in the presence of minors or vulnerable adults. The judge granted Strotman bond after she underwent a mental health evaluation. The results of that evaluation were sealed after they were presented in court. Strotman's attorney said they were pleased with the judge's decision to grant bond, but prosecutors objected to any conditions of release based on the nature of the case.
That we believed that the actions were so egregious and the strength of the Commonwealth's case is so strong that we did not believe that there are any conditions to ensure safety to herself or safety to others. The court, of course, is our neutral arbitrator and has the law, and he was very purposeful in going through the factors. And so we do, we understand.
Right now, Strotman only faces charges related to the possible harm of 1 infant. Dominique Hackey, who says his infant son was injured at Henrico Doctors Hospital in 2023, said he and others are disappointed.
I think we share the same feeling of anger. This is something that we were prepared for, but obviously we didn't expect. We definitely don't feel like Richmond is safer with her out on the streets, even though that she has the conditions of her bond.
Commonwealth's attorney Shannon Taylor said prosecutors will continue to investigate this case, and they have a plan should Strotman face additional charges while out on bond. In Henrico, I'm Elizabeth Holmes, CBS 6 News.
We also see reporting that the conditions of this bond include house arrest with her parents and wearing a GPS monitor, as reported by 12 on Your Side local station. Wow. She's got a preliminary hearing coming up in May, so that'll be the next court date for her. So provided that everything's gone through with the posting and then the setup with probation, her living with her parents apparently is the court's plan, and probation will monitor her pretrial with GPS. Still, going back to the fact that why the bond has a lot of people angered. So let's work through that with our guest. Let's bring in somebody who is a prosecutor in Virginia, Attorney Anton Bell, our legal analyst guest on the show today. Okay, Anton, would you walk me through the process here for everybody who's going, oh my gosh, why give her any bond? What do you say to that, please?
So let's start here. Initially in General District Court, which is the lower court in Virginia, on January 13th, she was not granted a bond. She then appealed that bond hearing to circuit court on January 22nd. The judge heard whatever evidence they wanted to discuss or consider for bond on that particular day, and then he delayed making a decision pending a mental health examination. That result has been sealed, so we do not know what's in that particular report. I would probably guess that it's shared that she does not have some type of mental health deficiency that would make her a risk to our community or to herself. And so given that, the factors that go into a bond here in Virginia is you can't be a flight risk or a danger to the community. Those are the 2 things. And what the judges consider is the act that was committed. They also consider whether you have a previous background that involved criminal activity. Probably not having one, given the fact that she's a nurse. And so those are the factors they took into consideration, and then he decided to give her $12,500 on each charge.
Anton, thank you so much for the explainer on that. That makes sense, right? And so Now that she's at home, she's undergone the mental health evaluation, what do you think is being done by the prosecutors and by the defense here as they're getting ready for the prelim, which will be the next court date come May?
So I personally know Shannon Taylor. She's a colleague of mine. And I can tell you right now, she's a tough cookie. So I know that they are looking at those other allegations to see whether there is other evidence that would connect her to those particular crimes. And if so, I am certain they're going to probably charge her with some, if not all, of those other incidents that they at one point thought she could have been connected to, because if you remember, she was on paid administrative leave for an entire year based upon a suspicion that she had previously hurt babies in that unit. And so if that is the case, I am sure they're probably looking into whether there's sufficient evidence to bring charges for that. And if that is the case, they are going to readdress bond, and they're going to ask for her bond to be revoked.
Such an important distinction you just brought up here for us, Anton. Well, there's several incidents in question, several families making allegations. The charges, correct me if I'm wrong, only pertain to one baby. Is that right? One baby they definitively have evidence of abuse of.
That is correct. They only have evidence for one case. So right now, there's at least 7 other cases that are out there that she could potentially be charged with. And also, don't forget this piece. If they have the preliminary hearing and the judge hears the specific evidence that the Commonwealth have concerning this case, the judge on his own or on her own can, we call it sua sponte, can revoke her bond, or the Commonwealth can again ask the court, now that you've heard evidence in this preliminary hearing, we're asking the court, we're in a different stage, we're asking the court to now revoke her bond. So you can readdress bond again.
That's a great point as well. Anton, thank you for that. And as you've said, we can expect the prosecutor to do that if we've got more charges coming against this woman. Tell me, how tough is it to handle a case like this? You know, when you have little babies, little precious babies. I mean, you can see why people's blood, you know, is just boiling when you hear these allegations. What's that like when you're on the end of, you know, being the prosecutor, being the one who's got to look at that upsetting evidence?
So, as you know, Julie, I just finished prosecuting a father who killed his 3-year-old toddler, and we never were able to find the body, and he was convicted of murder. And so it is extremely hard emotionally going through the evidence, knowing that your victim is someone who can't defend themselves, and they're relying upon potentially the person that's supposed to take care of them and to protect them. They're relying on that person ended up being their predator. So it is very difficult to deal with that and to kind of go through the weeds of that type of case.
Yeah, it sure is. I always say it takes a special person to handle these cases, and you certainly are. Anton Bell, thank you for everything this morning. We're glad that trial is over, you know, for many reasons, you getting justice for the family, but also because we get to have you on more when you're not in the courtroom. Thank you for everything, friend. We'll see you soon.